Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, March the 2nd. Hey, with the luck of the Irish upon us this March, we're all fortunate to have the Alabama Fishing Show and Expo this March 8th, 9th, and 10th at the venue in Gadsden, downtown by Coosa Landing. Bucks Island's going to have a big booth there. We'll have Skeeter, Falcon, and Bass Cat in the booth and a bunch of tackle with some deals for you. Come see us over there every day of the show. All day we'll be there. And while we're thinking about boats, we want to send a reach out to Bill Mayo and his partner, Joel McKimmey, for the accident that they had hitting a submerged floater during the Coosa River Team Trail last week down at Lay Lake. Tore the motor off their boat, but both of them are okay with minor bumps and bruises. But they're both going to be all right. Please be safe out there, folks. There's a lot of stuff floating in the water. Bill and everybody want you to know to be safe. Take your time. Look out as much as you can, but have fun out there. Hey, we'll be right back with what Tom, Lee, Tracy, and Gentry have to say about fishing in your area. We'll be right back with what the guys have to say. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, March the 2nd. Hey, we're joined by our little spicy gordita, Gentry Gordy down there at Lake Martin. Jordan Lake, he's spending some time down there telling us what's going on. What's going on, Gentry? Let's start at Lake Martin.
Lake Martin's, I want to tell you good news, but, because the weather's getting right, the water's dirty, but it kind of to go off what everybody else said, they're not exactly where you want them to be, where you're hoping they are, especially your spotted bass. Now, I mean, they're getting close. They're on your hard bottoms, 10, 12 foot. We've talked about it before. You find that rock formation that comes off the bank, and that's where your better spots are. Your largemouth, they're getting there. You can run around with a chatterbait and a red square bill and still catch them. But with it heating up like it is, this is when I start targeting the floating docks because of the black plastic. It just heats up a little bit more. Water temperature, 58, 60. Of course, that was just before this cold front, but I don't think it'll drop much. But your spotted bass or, your jerk baits and your hard spots on your hard rock places like that, your largemouth, they're getting there. They're about halfway back.
I'm sure you're seeing crappie fishermen all over the place out there too, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you'll see they're tied up to every blowdown all over the lake. So, yeah, the bridges and the blowdowns, that's where they are.
All right, let's turn our attention right now to Jordan Lake. What's going on over there?
Jordan, they're still hitting a swim jig in the grass, the river grass, up the river. First thing in the morning, mid-morning, that, all the boat traffic starts kind of blowing that grass out. And you can find them in some of the pockets. Again, it's a lot of the same. You're still halfway back. The water's dirty. So, your spinner baits on a windy day, wacky rigs around the docks, jigs, they're everywhere. But to find the better fish, you really just got to get in an area and hunker down.
Is it a moving thing? Is that what it is to find it and then hunker down? Or can you kind of take a guess at your typical spots and go there?
No, you can take a guess at it. Like I said, some of your bigger creek, of course, the mouth of Blackwell and the New Lake, that plays year round. But the main river grass that's on the rock up the river, that's where your good swim jig bite is early. But, your pockets and your little bit bigger creeks on the south end, start at the mouth and just work your way back until really they quit eating. And then, you can turn around and concentrate on the other side from the middle, going back out to the mouth of the pocket.
Gentry, brother, we appreciate all the information as always, man. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely, guys.
Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, March the 2nd. Hey, we got Tracy Robinson joining us, going to talk a little bit of Logan Martin and Lay Lake this week. Tracy, I know you're on Logan Martin right now getting ready for an event, but let's talk Lay Lake first. What are you hearing out of there?
Well, Lay Lake, fishing really good. My son and I split up last weekend. I went to Guntersville for a tournament. He went to Lay, and he had 19 or so pounds. Finished third up there down there in the Coosa River Team Trail. A lot of the guys that were catching them leading up to that tournament were chasing those bait balls. Down a lot of it down the Paint Creek area, and it was really good fishing. I heard a lot of 25-pound bags there that week. Chasing the bait with the A-rigs, and they were really whacking them. But if you remember the weekend that got really windy, we had some 25-mile-an-hour winds, and it just killed those guys that were whacking them out there. My son, he had big fish in the tournament, 6:30, something like that. But all of his fish came relatively shallow. They didn't get many bites early, but later in the day, they had a limit. But later in the day, he caught two big fish there in the last hour of the tournament, up really shallow, punching those mats, inlay. So I think there's a lot going on there. Some of those fish are still in the winter pattern out there, but there's a few of those first fish starting to move up into that grass.
That was a good tournament. Let's talk a little bit about Logan Martin. I know you're there right now. What's going on there?
Logan's a little scattered right now as far as the fishing goes. It's not really hard to get bit right now. I spent a couple of days on the lower end down around General Lee, Clear Creek, and it's really easy to get bit on those long tapering points out there. That pull up there, pull out the forward facing sonar, find the bait fish, and start throwing an A-rig was what I had the most luck with. I'm sure you can slow down and target, with some smaller finesse type stuff, but I was able to cover a lot more water with that A-rig, but I could get bit. There's a lot of spotted bass. I didn't catch any of the largemouth down there doing that, but it was not really hard to get bit doing it. Moving on up the lake a little bit, water temperature is 56. It got up to 60 last weekend, but those fish are just now getting to the kind of the very first positions in these creeks, ditches, pockets. They're not anywhere near the back right now, but there are a few largemouths near the mouths of these. You can get up there with the square bills and the frit sides, the flat sided crankbaits, and you can get bit on some largemouth. I haven't ran into any of the 5 pound plus fish, but 2 to 3 pound fish, those first fish are kind of starting to migrate toward those spawning grounds. But with Logan down 3 feet, it's a little bit different than the rest of the Coosa River chain. These fish don't typically try to spawn until that water comes up. So we're still a good month away before this water comes up on Logan, and these fish are going to kind of hang out in those first places before they make that big move.
Tracy, as always, brother, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for filling in this week again, and we'll talk to you again soon, brother. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, March the 2nd. Time for the Luck of the Irish, and this next weekend we got the Luck of the Irish showing up at the venue, or the Alabama Fishing Show and Expo is what we got. Lee Pitts is going to be a featured person around that day, so don't book him for guide trips, but he'll tell you what's going on right now. Lee, what's happening on Weiss Lake?
Things are looking better on Weiss right now. Thank goodness. The weather's not a whole lot better. We've dealt with some high winds and a little bit of rain this week, but still, the fish are starting to show themselves a little bit. We're seeing more and more schools of these crappie starting to get out in the mouths of the bays and coming in, catching a little more fish. So that's a good thing. It's just I think we're running a little bit behind right now, but we're starting to see normally that early February deal is just now coming along. So hopefully, they're coming, that we're seeing them, we're catching fish, so things are looking better.
Yeah, that's the crappie bite, and I know you're still probably having to vertical a little bit, maybe moving a little bit shallower into those creeks and bays, but what's going on with the bass biting?
Bass bite it's good for some, and it's still tough for others. It's one of those deals. We had a tournament last weekend here, had 2 stringers of 19 pounds and had a 17, upper 17, and then it really played out. I think some of these guys that made that run up the river, it's all if you can pull up and get 1 or 2 good bites and then calm down and just fish the rest of the day, try to knock out a limit. But a lot of these guys are still running around. They're chasing those spots out there, catching enough fish to keep doing what they're doing. But those bigger bites, I think some of the largemouth are trying to pull up right now. They're getting on up. Our water situation is still, we're at that 3-foot drawdown that they went to. I really don't know why it's kind of holding like it is. Normally the water is up a little higher by now, but I think that's keeping a lot of these largemouth are really getting comfortable up on some of this shallow stuff. They're still pulled out in that 3, 4, 5-foot range. Spotted bass, of course, how they work and how they live. They're out there on those hard bottoms, gravel points, things like that, where they can feel comfortable to roll off the sides and get back in some of that deeper water.
30 seconds. Let's talk about Neely Henry.
I'll talk about the crappie real quick first. Spent some time on Neely weekend and early week. Neely's starting to get a lot of crappie coming up. They're coming into it. A lot of the smaller fish are biting. Catch a lot of small fish right now. You can go out there and have a good time. The bass bite, some of the guys I've talked to, they're still concentrating on throwing a little jig, throwing some kind of square bill, and just kind of hitting the hard rocky points in some of those places, the mouth of the creek. And if you can find a little bit of wood, some kind of structure like that in that 3, 4 foot of water with the sunshine on it, you can take a jig and you can catch some fish right now.
That sounds like fun, brother. I appreciate everything. We'll see you this next week. at the venue.
See you there.
Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, March the 2nd. Hey, we've turned St. Patrick's Month. Anyway, we're going to talk to Tom Ott about Guntersville because he's been smashing them up there. Not quite enough to win, but him and his buddy Josh Butler have been pulling out some pretty high finishes. Tom, tell us what's going on at Lake Guntersville.
Oh, man, we're catching the fish to make people green with envy up here right now. So, Dano, again, the lake is just fishing really, really well. But I know people that struggle out there. The fish aren't everywhere. You just got to move. I mean, I think, we did some pre-fishing and it took quite a few hours just to run into some fish. But once you run into them, you can really, you can get well quick. You can catch quite a few fish, in little groups, that kind of deal. And there's some big fish really moving up. It's just, I think the two best baits, my big fish bait right now or so far has been a vibrating jig and a rattle trap. I mean, Guntersville's known for trapping and it's definitely showing out. But I do think that people are, maybe either fishing a little deep or a little too shallow. I think that 4 to 5 foot break is really the key right now. You got to stay in that zone, and just keep your bait wet. You're going to catch fish. They're definitely there for sure.
Eelgrass with the water going through the system. Is the eelgrass starting to cause a problem on reaction baits yet, or can you do things that you need to do?
It's still an issue. There's always going to be that floating grass. And again, I think I heard somebody else say this, but if you pull up on an area, there's a lot of grass there, just leave. You'll frustrate yourself. You drive yourself crazy. You can come back in an hour and pick off those fish. But if you just sit there and keep working at it, you're just going to, it's like beating your head against the wall. It's not going to do you any good. What I've been doing is really pulling out some older baits, a little retro stuff, just a little different sound to show the fish a little something different. I've been working with jerk baiting here lately, and I don't know if you guys got any of these, but catching the big ones. We're trolling that behind that Merc 250.
Throwing it on 73-pound braid. Tom, tell me a little bit about the crappie bite. I know you see a few crappie anglers out there already. What's going on with them?
The crappie are really starting to push now, Dano. I talked to a guy the other day. He likes to fish the bridges, things like that. He walked away with 18 fish in just a few hours, most of them between 12 and 14 inches. So, I mean, just really wrecking them. He said he had never seen that many schools going through the causeway. So those are fish that are moving through and either going to the backs of the creeks or they're coming back out or they're just hanging there eating that bait. But it's hot.
Tom, as always, brother, we appreciate everything, and we will talk to you again next week, my friend.
All right, guys, y'all be safe out there. Tight lines. We'll talk to you soon.
Well, that'll wrap up our Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, March the 2nd. Don't forget, we're open right now on our winter hours, Tuesday through Friday, 8 to 5, Saturday, 8 to noon. You got that boat you're looking for, the parts to keep yours going, the service you need to keep it running, or that tackle up there in the loft. Come see us over there. Don't forget to come see us at the venue in Gadsden, March 8th, 9th, and 10th. For the Alabama Fishing Show and Expo. We'll be there. Got stuff for you to look at, boats to take a look at, and deals for you in the loft booth right there at the venue in Gadsden. See you next week.